Hello and welcome back to the Movie Marketing and Distribution podcast powered by UsherU. My name is Alex Stoltz, and as well as hosting this show, I am head of film here at UsherU and run a company called Future of Film. UsherU is the smarter way to promote your films and catalogue with our automation, analytics and audience building tools, which are all designed to make your marketing and distribution easier, more cost-effective and impactful. To find out more about what we do and access all of our other podcast sessions and free resources, just head over to usheru.com today. I will spell that. That is USHERU. That's usheru.com. So on this show, it's my job to speak with leading executives about all aspects of the business of getting films, getting movies to audiences, and of course, share these with you, our listeners, in a rapidly changing, I'm going to say rapidly twice because it does feel like that sometimes, audience and entertainment landscape. What are the new strategies, marketing wise, distribution and audience development, that are proving most effective? And I am really looking forward to today's conversation. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the show Emma Jamieson. Emma has been a marketeer for over 12 years, working across hospitality, tourism, luxury brands and entertainment sectors for a number of agencies. Since 2020, Emma has pivoted to film as a self-confessed lifelong movie nerd. You can join the club, bringing her knowledge, experience and fresh ideas to the industry, and starting her own freelance consultancy full-time in 2022. She's head of marketing at the French Film Festival, which recently wrapped. And for the past year, she's worked with Cinetopia, growing their social media presence and brand awareness. And Cinetopia is the Scotland-based film hub and production company. Emma is an early adopter of digital, and she's committed to innovating marketing and communications across social media and digital platforms. And with her consultancy, Emma J Marketing, she now hopes to help smaller film projects and film-related businesses get the marketing support and training they need to promote their work and generate those all-important audiences. You can find Emma at www.emmajmarketing.com and find her on social at Emma J Marketing. Emma, hi.
Well, thank you.
Let's dive into marketing because this is what I'm really keen to talk to you about. And let's go straight in there. You know, what are the most sort of common mistakes, or if you like, where do you see the biggest opportunity for independent distributors, cinemas, festivals at this time?
So I think one of the most apparent things that I noticed, especially working through the festival, and I've heard this talking with people who work across different festivals in the UK, is the gap between sort of big budget marketing promotions for big scale movies and then the actual press materials or marketing materials that you get from smaller distributors that are really old school. Almost sort of the press packs that I would have expected to get in sort of the mid 2010s. Like there hasn't been a shift forward. And this is an industry based on visual video content. This is literally the prime basis of the whole film industry. And yet press packs are still PDFs, film stills. You might get a Word document, which is an interview with a director, and that might be it. And if you're lucky enough to even get social media assets, it will be a couple of square pictures with a logo. And with that, you know, we're supposed to drive high buzz and excitement ahead of a screening. And I find that really odd. And I also find that there's it's that there doesn't seem to be a middle point. It's either super basic or you're looking at avatar levels of sort of marketing material. And I feel that that's I think it might be I think it's a knowledge gap in terms of, on the distribution side, not having the mindset yet to move into a digital social media era. And I don't know if that barrier is due to lack of training, or lack of understanding or specialism in the different social media channels that exist and how they operate and how communities work with them. Or if it's, and this might be controversial, but if it's a snobism or a sort of perception that social is not, video on TikTok is not real film, ergo we don't touch that. We keep going with our trailer, we keep going with our press release and our PDF pack, which, you can copy paste the interview with the director, and that's that. We're not touching this new sphere that might be encroaching on our filmmaking territory. But I get the feeling, talking to people, that is a real barrier in the mind. This sort of social media video content is not the same as real cinema. Therefore, we don't want the two sort of interacting too much. And the big players are getting it, the megabucks players are getting it. They're well on board, and they have the resource, the training, the teams to deliver that. But where do we help that smaller budget level of filmmaker? Where do we break down that conceptual barrier in the mind, and B, where do we deliver training at an accessible level to help them at least get to a certain point where they're meeting new audiences on the channels that they're on in a way that they're comfortable doing and doing well.
And is it an issue partly of like assets and having the materials in the first place to share on that, or is it just about how you repurpose what you already have?
I think it's two things. I think repurposing is really important, especially at the lower end of the budget. Classic, absolute basic example is sending out a trailer which is over 1 minute, 30 seconds. Well, then I can't share that on Instagram. I can't share that across a number of video channels because it's too long. It gets chopped off. Secondly, the format. We're still 16:9, and I need things in 9:16 ratio. Little things like that, and I see this at really high level. I'll see trailers by Lionsgate, and the Lionsgate logo is completely chopped off at the sides. Or the central character, who is your main talent, he's your bankable star, the face is getting cut off halfway through the trailer because of how I'm watching it. And you can see the studios that have cottoned on and are either editing a specific trailer for social, or shooting an entirely separate format trailer for that specific channel. And little things like that, I think, are something that are quite cost-effective ways to at least look more professional, not have your assets cut off before they finish, real basics. Then talking about sort of the wider press pack, if you have an interview with a director on paper, please also have it filmed. If you have the director booked to do a Q&A that you're going to type up anyway, video record it, edit that down into, little 1 minute chunks. And there already you have assets that a media broadcaster or your social channels can use, that you don't need to then hire a second agency to come in and film for you. And this is where technical training comes in, because to do a talking head short mobile shot video does not require the technical expertise of Ridley Scott. It requires a good, well-lit room, a strong mobile phone, and the mindset to book that in when you are creating your press pack. So those are little basic things. Then we go up a scale, and there's a really nice example. I think it's Monument releasing as a distributor. They create entire landing pages, branded landing pages per film, which is sort of that next step up. So for a start, your whole website reflects the film, it's themed, you get a feeling for, the themes of the story, you're already kind of immersed. They provide a lot more assets. They're on board with providing, ready-made TikTok videos, for example, that are unbranded. So it'll have the film logo, but it won't have the studio's logo. So if another outlet wants to repurpose that, they've got content ready-made. They don't need to commission anything. And I think that's a really nice middle ground as well, to start bringing the media pack, the marketing kit, into a sort of more modern format. And again, these are things that I don't feel are going to break the bank. Not everyone's going to be the glass onion, or obviously, but I think it's the mindset to think social at the very start of mapping out your marketing plan for your film. It's not a tack on at the end. It's not an afterthought. It needs to be integral when you're mapping out every single piece of content that you're going to develop to promote your film.
That's a big shift, isn't it? And it's a mindset change, but really understanding how those platforms work, and it's all about video content and like you say, it is a video based medium. Yeah. So it should be kind of have an advantage.
I laugh because the whole Martin Scorsese content conversation, he hates content, and superhero movies are ruining everything. I was like, is it really a case that we have too much content, or do we have not enough of the right kind of content? And I just thought that idea always made me laugh. And I think when I say social media mindset, it's also think beyond the film, document your process. Your film is the end product, but people are interested in every stage. And I think there's a lot of gatekeeping. Again, we want to maintain the mystery of filmmaking and the magic behind the scenes. And I totally understand that. And I think that you can definitely overkill on breaking the mystery. But the more you can document every stage of your process, the more you have when it comes time to really, selling your film or starting to generate that audience buzz. Is people are curious. People want to know. They want to feel like they're on the journey with you. If I first hear about a film when there's a fully formed trailer, that's lovely. But I'd be 10 times more interested if I was sort of caught very early on, teasers here, behind the scenes there, a director hinting at, the crew, but depending on the style of film that you're making, how are the crew getting things together? I think, I see this a lot in sort of product-based brands, luxury brands, or the actual process of making is an enormous part of their marketing strategy, and bringing an audience along for the ride, so that by the time the product's ready, they're already invested. They're there, ticket in hand. I want it, because they've seen it develop. So I think, again, going back to how do we train people to have the mindset to document as you go, think social first, and not as an additional thing that is a bit of a bummer, but you have to do it kind of thing. How do we make it exciting for the film producers to do, for the distribution companies to educate them on what they could use for the eventual marketing of the film? Yeah.
And this is maybe stating the obvious, but we're not just talking about, young audiences here, right?
No, not at all. And I think also, everyone's on social media. TikTok, there's grannies on TikTok having their own fashion communities. we've moved long past social being for kids, or in fact, we're light years ahead of that. So it really is understanding that every niche, there's an audience for everything, and they are online, and they are building communities, and they are having conversations in and out. It doesn't matter how tiny you think your audience might be, harness them early, and they do exist, and they are there already having those conversations around the topics that might be of interest or be a part of your film.
Yeah, no, you're speaking to the converted here, and in terms of early stage awareness and audience building, and Usher You, we've been promoting that a lot with, to start the process early, and build that audience. Do you have any advice or strategies for kind of maintaining that audience all the way through, keeping them engaged, I suppose, up to the point of release? Because sometimes I feel like people, there's a concern people drop off, or they get bored, or
I think it's being consistent. If you are going to play the long game, if you are going to decide that you're going to promote your film 6 months out, map that into your plan so that you are going to have 6 months worth of material to promote. Don't sort of have a burst at the start, oh, we're super excited, here's all this amazing behind the scenes treats and teasers and sizzle reels and everything else, and then you do a big burst in a week and then nothing happens until the film launches. Map it out, be consistent, factor in different approaches. So don't rest your laurels all on one channel. Mix it up a bit, so that you're capturing different audiences on different channels at different touch points, and you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And I think going back to making them part of the journey, it's finding ways to have your audience involved. Ask them questions, make sure that they're part of the conversation. You're not just presenting information to them, you're having a dialogue. So make sure that there is some sort of interactive quality to your content. It could be as simple as asking questions, which sounds really basic, but unless you think about it, a lot of people don't do it. They're just like, here's this thing we did, off you go. It's making sure that they are always a part of the conversation, and that you're always listening to your audience as you go along the promotional journey. And if you start to see people, interest is waning, you might need to pull a different piece of content out of the bag that starts a different conversation. But I think it's really planning, consistency, having everything mapped out in advance so that you can fill the time frame you've decided to have, and maintaining dialogue. Social is social for a reason. You're having conversations. You're not just dictating information.
You're listening to the Movie Marketing and Distribution podcast, powered by Usher You. How is your marketing strategy right now? Are there areas you want to improve? Or perhaps you are looking for some fresh inspiration and ideas on how to remain ahead of the curve? Well, the Usher You Marketing Scorecard is a completely free resource to identify your marketing strengths and opportunities in less than 5 minutes. Head over to scorecard.usheryou.com and you'll receive a personalized report on your marketing, what's working well, areas of improvement, and quick wins to boost your 2022 planning. So that's scorecard.usheryou.com. Score your marketing today with Usher You at scorecard.usheryou.com. And now back to the show. Can we talk a bit about TikTok?
Oh,
You
yes, please.
mentioned it a couple of times. Have you sort of experienced or suggestions on how to use TikTok as a way to convert, I suppose?
Yes. I think so. I love TikTok, and I was a real skeptic. I was actually late to the TikTok party. And the minute I got on board, I was like, oh, this is not just dancing, people. I get this now. And I think it's really important to, it's a marketing channel like any other marketing channel. Some things will work, some things will not. It's always going to be an experimentation. What I see a lot of is people starting studios or distributors or filmmakers or cinemas who are slowly coming online to TikTok, often still using it. It's like, oh, we made a video for Instagram, or we made a trailer, we'll just stick it on TikTok. No, it's its own channel with its own style, its own way of communicating. You have to custom make for TikTok. If you're going to be on TikTok, and don't be if you're not going to really invest in it. It's only worth doing if you're going to do it well, and don't give yourself the headache of more work. But if you're going to adopt TikTok, you have to really understand the workings of it and not treat it as just another channel to put a piece of video that you already have without thinking it through. In terms of audience, if we're talking about who's going to be buying cinema tickets in the future, which is a massive concern right now, it's, the biggest conversation I hear is this panic over is cinema dying entirely. TikTok is literally 58% of TikTok users are active, i.e. they're on there every single day, hours of the day. 69% of TikTok users, I have this stat, this is a TikTok entertainment study they conducted in 2021. 69% of TikTok users have said they wish they saw more movie-based content on there. There is very little movie content on there. It's a channel ripe for being explored. And yes, it's not always going to work. And I can understand the skepticism because it is a lot of work. You have to custom make content for it. You have to rethink. It's not glossy. It's not visually slick, which is the complete antithesis of film as a medium, which is polished and edited and beautiful. And TikTok is messy and chaotic. And, again, I come back to, is it a barrier, a sort of conceptual barrier that it's not real film, so we don't go there? I still think this is a huge reason why the film industry is slow to adopt TikTok, is this mistrust of it, that it's going to come in and destroy filmmaking or, create a generation of people who want to watch movies in vertical format, and that's, death to cinema. And I think I'm old school. I like old school. I like films to be films, but we can't live with that mentality. We're not going to be here in 25 years if we don't start embracing this now. 15-year-olds who we want to be buying cinema tickets in 10 years' time might only want to watch, 5-minute long vertical films. I kind of hope that's not the case, but we need to prepare for the fact that that might well be the case. And I think some people are using TikTok really, really well. There are distributors embracing it. Rai Cinema, the Italian film distribution branch of Rai TV, are so hot just in generally in the whole world of digital NFTs, Web3. They're kind of right ahead. And they've been using TikTok for about 3 years now to promote films and generate pre-release buzz. And it's really paying off for them. They're working with TikTok influencers. They're trying to attract younger audiences, and they've invested in their team to develop that whole side of marketing content production. They, I think, recently released it was like a rom-com And the whole marketing strategy was to generate pre-release buzz by having a couple of influencers sort of create discussion videos around romantic comedies, and are they outdated, and what do young people think about them, and not really mentioning the film too much. It was really starting the conversation early. They use this young TikToker. She's like 15. She promotes everything from like sneakers to video games and everything else. But she has an enormous following. And off the back of that conversation building, she then started talking about the film. And this could be a way forward. I think it's looking at TikTok and using it the way it is used and not trying to impose your slick marketing designed for other channels onto it, because it doesn't work that way. And festivals are starting to embrace TikTok as well, or rather TikTok is trying to edge in on that market. I think TikTok's also trying to be taken seriously as a content channel in the film space. So, suddenly it's official partner of TIFF, or it's the official partner of Cannes, and it's running its own short film festivals. And I'm pretty sure that's coming from TikTok going in, because I've looked at the Cannes TikTok and bless them, they're getting there. There's things they at least they're on board. They're using it. So slowly but surely, but I think ignoring it is like ignoring any technology, however uncomfortable it's going to make people feel. It's the ones that ignore it are going to be left out. We're moving rapidly in this maybe scary direction, but this is your cinema audience in 10 years' time. That's where they're at now. So
yeah, I know it's really helpful to break it down like that. And again, it's like, it's a change in mindset. It's the way, we have moved on.
Yeah.
Mostly from put the poster and the trailer, and that creates the awareness. But it's these platforms are, like you say, it's like it's inherent in their name, but they're social, and it's different. Yeah.
I know you work a lot with audience analysis and trying to understand audience behavior. And I think even if you use the channels for nothing else, use them to listen. Use them to hear what conversations are happening around relevant themes to your film, or relevant themes to what's going on in the world that you're operating in, because you will learn about what your audience wants just by observing conversations and starting to understand what debates are going on, what people are consuming, what they are interested in. So even from that perspective, it can be a really useful market research tool, even if you're not comfortable actually using it to promote.
What about data, and how do you sort of use that in your work, Emma? And where do you see those opportunities?
Sorry, I'm a massive data geek.
Okay.
I love a big deep dive.
Okay.
I think data is, again, there's a massive gap between the big players who have the access and the resource to A, access data, B, have the training necessary to analyze it and break it apart and turn it into meaningful action, and the sort of end of the scale that I'm probably operating at, and the people I'm having conversations with who not only have no access, and we could talk about shared resource, which I think is a massive gap in the festivals market especially. I know that a lot of festivals, there isn't shared knowledge or shared resource or shared data at the sort of lower scale, either in terms of festivals or people just sharing audience data in general, but also a gap in understanding how to analyze data. And I'm talking, even at a very basic level, whether that's your Google Analytics or understanding your social insights, even basic knowledge is not there. So people aren't looking at them, and it's not for lack of want, but more a lack of having the knowledge base to even interpret the small amounts of data that a low budget filmmaker might have access to. And I know this conversation came up a lot at This Way Up film exhibition conference last year, is that lack of shared data, that lack of pooling resource between distributors, festivals, marketeers, producers, not having one sort of big database or hub where that information can be gathered, or maybe a bit of gatekeeping between different parties not wanting to give too much away. And it's funny because in the hotel industry, data is shared very widely. Everyone knows their competitors, like the room rates, their how full they are on any given day. Trends are shared, insights are shared. There's massive public databases for hoteliers to access to understand their market share, where they sit. But even at a sort of smaller hotel scale, they have access to that. Whereas in film, it seems like the big players have, again, the mountains of access, resource, data. And then the smaller players don't even have the training to interpret the data that they might actually have access to. So yes, I think it's vitally important. I think a lot of money could be saved or marketing costs cut if actually filmmakers on low budgets were able to have the training to understand their own data that they do have access to. And that's a huge part of what I would like to do, is help get that training to people, help find ways to make basic training accessible to lower budget filmmakers or festivals or whoever that is, to help them make their own marketing decisions without having to hire an outsider or spend huge amounts of money. I think that's the biggest gap. It's that access and training on how to interpret data.
And data from, what do data sources, or what you're talking about, maybe having a shared pool where people can...
I think audience data, from everything from test screenings to cinemas that you might be working with. Cinemas communicating to festivals how screenings are doing, whether that's audience sentiment, footfall, bookings. I've found people begging for information. I'm like, and having to wait rather than being able to literally log on to a platform, access that information without having to go through hoops or talk to 5 people. I just see that either gatekeeping or the technology is not there to share the resource. But I think any filmmaker wants to know that their audience is responding well through the process of making the film. They want to know how people are feeling in the cinema. They want to know what footfall is like when their film is traveling around the country. And they also want to know that their marketing efforts are working. And that comes back down to, is their website optimized? Is their social getting hits? Do they know what content's working for them or not? Do they know how to interpret that? Are they able to make decisions based on that? And what I'm finding is that the lower end, often the answer is no, we don't have a clue. And we need help in that department.
Yeah. So Emma, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time. Just let it to end on a final question. Is just what would be your one piece of advice to someone involved in film marketing, whether that's distribution, cinema, festival? What would you recommend?
Don't be scared of evolving technology. It's coming whether you like it or not. You can either choose to give it a try because your future audience is there already, but don't dismiss it. Don't pretend it's going away. It's not.
So thanks again for joining this episode of the Movie Marketing and Distribution podcast presented by UsherU. At UsherU, we are passionate about data, innovation, and movie marketing. And we have now combined all of these passions and knowledge into a product that is built to, well, essentially transform film marketing. The UsherU Total Movie Hub is created to empower distributors and film bodies to build their own audience data and run outstanding campaigns that are both more cost-effective and impactful. To find out more about how UsherU can transform your campaigns and your marketing, just head over to usheru.com. You'll also find there more episodes of this show and an extensive selection of sessions and resources on distribution, audience strategy, and film marketing. And if you'd like to book a demo or have any questions, please just drop me a line at alex@usheru.com. I would be delighted to help and love to hear from you. So that's usheru.com, and I will spell that. That's USHERU, usheru.com. Do check it out, and I look forward to welcoming you back to the Movie Marketing and Distribution Podcast very soon.